Revelation 4546. From the 20th of January 1949. Attainment of childhood of God. You have now entered a stage of development where the last decision you still have to make on earth applies. This is the end of your earthly career, that you must openly confess to which power you want to be subject, and where this decision is now decisive for your fate in eternity. Then your course of development on earth will be over. Your soul will then leave the sphere of earthly material creations and enter the spiritual sphere, where it can continue its course of development if it has the necessary strength, but it can also remain in its degree of development or sink back into an earlier degree of development. But one possibility is taken away from it to acquire the degree of childship to God, which it can, however, attain on earth. The human being's last decision on this earth is so significant because it results in the right of childship if it is correct, that is, if the human being has passed the test of earthly life in God's will. If this last decision of faith is demanded of you humans, you must be aware of the consequences, for then you will decide your own eternity, you will have the most exquisite thing at your disposal, you will be able to grasp it with your hands, which should be the aim and aspiration of people on earth, the childship to God. Great demands will be placed on you and you will have to acquire the reward under the most difficult conditions, yet the struggle which arises from it will only last a short time in order to give way to a glorious victory, the most blissful fate in eternity. To possess the childship to God is synonymous with palpable fatherly love, God's constant presence, unlimited light and strength, and everlasting contemplation of God, and a constant stay in the most light-filled surroundings, be it in the spiritual kingdom or on the new earth which, as paradise, will now become the abode of God's children for the beginning of the new epoch of redemption. Bliss truly outweighs the hardship and suffering of the last time of struggle on this earth. Moreover, people will experience extraordinary strengthening who have the will to remain faithful to God and to fulfill His will. Thus it will certainly seem unbearable to the unbelievers what the believers take upon themselves for their faith, yet the believer himself will be able to withstand every tribulation due to the supply of strength and grace from God. For he has already reached a level of development where God's strength can directly flow over to him. Nevertheless, there will also be weak people who are in danger of falling away and whom God will have mercy on because He knows their will from eternity. And therefore many will still enter the spiritual kingdom beforehand so that they can continue their course of development there and not fall into the danger of falling away from God due to their weakness of will and faith. But inevitably the development on this earth will come to an end. Inevitably the earth and its creations will experience a total transformation. Inevitably all life on it will die, death will reap a rich harvest, but this will happen spiritually, for whoever remains alive at the end belongs to the group of God's children who will be raptured from this earth with a living body, but all others are a prey of death who lose their bodily life and whose souls will also be banished as completely spiritually dead into hardest matter, into the new creations of earth, because an ascent development in the spiritual kingdom has become impossible for them. The end to be expected now is exceedingly significant and cannot be presented to you humans responsibly enough. Yet only a few will take notice of these indications, only the small circle of God-faithful people who strive for God's childship and are therefore also informed of God's eternal plan of salvation, of the end and the last judgment. And this knowledge will also give them the strength to endure until the Lord Himself comes in the clouds to fetch His own home when the time comes. Amen.